Added a bird to my ring collection. I got a dead guy and a bird. Dead guy and a dead bird. It kind of looks like Khonshu. The Moon Knight. The moon. The moon. All right. Down to the nitty gritty. I recently watched Weapons. I think last month, or should I say last year, I've been getting somewhat into horror movies. Maybe not horror games. I've been playing a little bit of horror games. I've been getting the balls to play the FNAF games. I've never been a horror fan of anything. I struggled with playing the FNAF games, which is, is probably ridiculous, but still, it was scary for me. I don't like jump scares. I don't like media jump scares. And I've been somewhat starting to inch my way into the horror media. And Weapons was one of the movies that like the first time I actually watched a movie, a horror movie. If you would even consider Weapons a horror movie. I really don't think it's that much of a horror movie. Of course, yeah, it has that creepy vibe of old ladies and and kids and drug addicts and uh and weapons too, but it's nothing compared to Conjuring movies, which I have watched the first one. Insidious, I never watched. I never even gotten to the halfway point of it. All right, I was shitting my britches the entire 30 minutes of watching Insidious, even when nothing was happening at all. So I watched Weapons, and spoilers. This is spoilers, by the way. If you haven't watched Weapons, like I said in my previous videos, I will be doing some movie reviews too. I want to yap about my opinion about the movies, and Weapons is basically about this small town. I forgot where the location is, but it's this small town type of movie where this teacher had like a classroom with 18 kids and only one of them showed up on a random day. The movie opens up with all the kids. Man, it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks that I watched it. I actually watched it on Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, actually. I watched it Christmas Day. So it's been that long since I watched the movie. And if you could excuse me for 1 millisecond, because I just realized right now, my laptop is about to die. So let me get into the nitty gritty. There we go. Say hi to the Teto plush. There we go. Say hi to the Teto plush. The fat ass Teto plush. And so we also follow this teacher who is basically being blamed by all the parents of those 18 kids. And honestly, yeah, if I was a parent, I'd obviously be worried sick out of my mind. I would blame the teacher because, like, how the hell do you lose 18 kids? Also, it's unreasonable too because it happened as, like, after hours, like in the middle of the night. So like you could argue that this teacher made some kind of elaborate plan to kidnap these, well, not like, not using quotations, but like to kidnap these kids. If you're smart enough and clever enough, then yeah, I guess you can pull something off. But it seems unreasonable to blame this teacher. These parents were very emotional, understandably too. So then This movie was like broken down into like these parts, like three parts, I guess. Four parts. The first part was like the teacher, and then the cop, and then I think the principal, and then Thanos, and then the kid. So that's five parts until the very last part. And so my take on this movie is that there are some things that I need to point out from this movie, which I would honestly rate this movie like I guess like a 7 out of 10. So the main so my main issue with this movie is the cop that was patting down. Oh, and the crackhead too. That's one of the parts too. So the cop was patting down the crackhead. Obviously, when you do a pat down, you gotta like literally pat the entire body. You're supposed to like check for any weapons or anything in their pockets. Well, this cop did not do any of that. He just asked, "You got anything in your pockets that could poke me?" And obviously, the crackhead is like, nah, nah, I don't got nothing. So he reaches into the pocket, and what do you know? A syringe was in there. It pokes his little finger, and reasonably, he punches the shit out of that crackhead. But what he doesn't realize is that his body cam and his dash cam in his car was on. I think it was his dash cam. Yeah, it was pointing directly at them. So he realized he fucked up. Right? Right? He messed up. He's cooked. All right, I guess we're having a little guest here. He's enjoying his time here. So that's my issue there. And another issue that I have is these parents, like the way they are all blaming this one teacher who absolutely had nothing to do with the kidnapping. Hey, who had nothing to do with the kidnappings. It wasn't that obviously it wasn't her fault. It was all a witch's fault. And yeah, that was my second issue with the movie is that all the blame was practically going on to the this one teacher. And apparently they were saying like she has this teacher has a habit of being, oh, woe is me, like everything is about her. And yeah, that's true. Not everything is always about you. But the way they were attacking her, practically they're all blaming this one teacher. And another thing, another issue that I had, issue number three that I have with the movie is that when the crackhead broke into the house that the witch was staying at, because apparently this witch was visiting like some kind of relative to one of the kids, just one that was not kidnapped because he literally lives with that witch. Like he's related to this witch. And this witch is blackmailing this kid where he has his the witch has this kid's parents in like some kind of trance where they're like a statue, and there's this part where like this witch grabs a strand of your hair, and there's like some kind of bonsai plant tree looking thing where she grabs a stick of it, wraps your hair in it, and I see that she breaks it with your hair tied around the stick, causes you to either kill yourself, be aggressive, or obviously be aggressive because he showed what she can do to that kid's parents, and they started like stabbing their face with a fork, and so obviously the witch is like, if you tell anyone about me, yeah, they're cooked. So back to the crackhead breaking into this kid's house is that he broke in because he was like looking for money. He needed money about some, I forgot, but he needed money. So whoop-de-doo. Yeah, he broke into the seemingly abandoned house, and he completely ignored the red flags where like there's newspapers like literally taped over the windows, and the main red flag is that he finds this kid's parents just standing there. So if I was in that situation, I'd obviously go away. I'd like honestly run away before I get caught. So then the movie ends. Those were my issues on that movie. So practically the movie ends where Thanos and this teacher practically like gather enough. No, Thanos was being like a detective where he was practically like connecting the dots of where these kids went, and he like had this map where he was looking at every single camera, every door ring camera, and they all seemed to go into one direction. So he had like this map of every house that's been affected by this witch, and he like made a whole line where they all intersect into one house, and he made that connection, and he brought that up with this teacher, and then they both decided to check the house out, and then that's where like you would say the final boss battle happens, and the kid uses this witch's weapon against her, where he grabs like a strand of her own hair and breaks it on that cursed stick. And yeah, all the kids, all 17 of those kids that were in the basement in a trance, all go after this witch, and they like tear her to shreds. They like tear her limb from limb. They practically like grab her from the jaw, and yeah, that's pretty much my take on the weapon. So, why do they call it weapons? I honestly don't know. The only thing they even mention about weapons is that they mentioned they had like this small analysis of comparing these kids to like heat-seeking missiles or weapons where there are certain weapons that lock onto a specific target, like missiles. So that's the only reference to weapon that they made. There was another scene where there was like a literal M16 in the sky, and where you see the barrel should be reloaded. No, was it the barrel? I don't know what part of that gun it is, but where the barrel is, and that opening, that little tiny opening where the the shells leave the barrel, there it was like a alarm clock there, some kind of clock there. That's the only connection to a weapon that I've seen in the entire movie. I'm slow, okay? So yeah, this is pretty much my core review of the movie. This is it's been a while since I probably could have given a better analysis and better explanation to the movie if I watched it like recently this week, but I've been wanting to talk about it for a while with someone, but this is probably one of the reasons why I like made this channel so that I could just yap about it here. And well, practically my cat is listening, so he's already getting sleepy from how much I'm yapping. So yeah, want to say hi? Okay, bye.